The Francis fly is a fly by Mr. Francis, whose A Book on Angling was published in 1876. I'm tying the fly from the illustration in Mary Orvis Marbury's book, Favorite Flies and Their Histories, which was published in 1892. I'm using a number 6 sproat hook, but you can tie this on any size hook you want, depending on what you're going to fish it for. Any of the salmonids, I think that's what they're called, salmon, trout. I'm using claret thread because the head in the illustration is a claret red. I'm tying in a piece of authentic metal tinsel for the gold tag. Since it's gold on both sides, I don't have to worry about which side I'm tying in, but I do want to fold it and bend it over to wrap the tag, and I'll just take that down 3 wraps and back. And it's kind of fun to have friends who are also interested in helping me with my ingredients inventory. The metal tinsel is a little bit harder to work with, actually, I think, than the mylar. But old fly, since I have this tinsel, I figure why not use it. And I'll just wrap over that enough to catch it in, and then I'm just going to treat it like a piece of wire since it's metal, and just bend it back and forth to break it off. Take my thread back up to the front of the hook and tie in a strand of red floss, and I'm going to tie it in on the bottom of the hook shank. Bring my thread back to where I have the tag, and then when I wrap that thread, that floss for the rib, it'll counter wrap up over the top. The body is peacock herl. Peacock herl is the barbs from a peacock tail feather. We don't call them barbs on a feather like this, we call them herl. And then all the little barbules, I believe those are called flues on a herl. So I have 5 of those because it's a fairly substantial body. And I am going to just break off the tips. They're fairly tender. I'll bring my thread back up here where I need it. And then just wrap around all 5 of those herls. I should know whether the plural of herl is herl or herls. I maybe look that up sometime. Wrap that back to where the tag is. And I am not treating this body with any special consideration. I might put it in a rope or lay down a bead of super glue across the top of the hook shank to help to strengthen the body. And I suppose if I was actually going to fish this fly, I might do that to just keep the integrity of the body against the teeth of whatever fish I'm using it for. But because I am really wrapping it for demonstration, as well as just for me the fun of tying the flies in Mary's book and putting a rib on it, I'm not feeling the urgency to do those other things, and I let go of that herl, so I pull it all out and wrap it again. It's a relatively large hook for the length of the herl, so I have to be a little bit more careful not to let go of the ends after they're wrapped. And I'll do that again. Hang on to the butt ends a little tighter this time. With 5 of them, it's a little bit. I'll let go of one of them there already. See if I can wrap that one under and get it caught up with the rest. And they're not all the same length either. So just push them with my finger against the back of the hook. And then I will catch them in before I let them go again. I want to make sure I have plenty of room for the wing and hackle. Pull back on those and wrap tight underneath of them. Try not to get a lot of the flues out over the eye of the hook and just kind of make it dirty out there. You can clip those butt ends off, and then I'll take that red floss and counter wrap a spiraled rib. And my rib is laying way deeper into the herl than it is on the illustration, and I think that's just a character trait of the illustration. I didn't get that last wrap held in properly when I wrapped it over it, so rewrap that and then 3 wraps over the top, and then I'll pull back on that tinsel and get 3 wraps underneath of it to hold it in place. Then I can clip out the extra. I'm using a light done rooster cape or rooster neck for both the wings and the hackle. So I have these feathers from further down. Right, this is the neck here. So going down the cape, almost getting down into saddle feathers. But I think those are very much the appearance of the wings in the illustration. Get those lined up tip to tip properly. Measure their length, and out to the bend of the hook may be a little bit fuller than that according to the illustration. Just pinch them right there where I'm going to cut them. See if I can cut them together. And just keep hanging on to both of those feathers together and pull off the barbs from the ends. Keep them lined up, keep them together properly. And this is the hardest part of this fly, is to get these 2 feathers tied in here without rolling them. So I'm going to just lift up on my thread, do a loose wrap around, and then pull forward and up and see if we get them tied in properly. I'll let go of one of them and do that again. I didn't crew cut those, so it's going to be a little bit trickier to get them to sit properly and get caught in. See how that looks. Yeah, they're rolling just a little bit. We pinch wrap it. Still rolling. So just patience. Do it until I get it right. Don't have them lined up properly again. All right, set those on top. Bring my thread around, and then if I just cinch straight up so it doesn't roll, and then wrap. That's better. I'm going to be okay with that. I'll wrap back on those a little bit. Get them tied into place. I'm okay with that. I'm going to use under feathers from this same cape or neck, and this is a very webby cock feather, and I think that it's very much like the hackle on the feather in Mary's book, at least the illustration. So it's kind of fun to discover a rooster hackle that is webby like this, that I can use on these what would have been fished as wet flies in the middle to late 1800s. I'm going to take my hackle plier and grab the rachis, because I'm going to tie it in by the tip. I'm going to pull back on all the barbs that are going to become the hackle, and then I'm going to just clip that tip out so I have just a little triangle, and that triangle will be enough to catch that hackle feather in with and hold it in place, and I can wrap up over that out to the front of the eye, or of the hook behind the eye, and then pull back on these feathers. I'm going to wet my fingers, and that helps to grab them and pull back on them and wrap it much like I would wrap a soft hackle wet fly or a spider hackle, except it's a much fuller hackle than I would do on a spider or a soft hackled wet fly today. Those I want a very sparse collar. This one I'm trying more to imitate the look in the illustration in Mary's book. Try not to get that up too close to the eye. I'm afraid I have. And I'll be okay. I'm going to wrap just up over that stem or rachis. Catch it in with 3 wraps over the top. And then again, wet my fingers and pull back on all the barbs and that stem, and then wrap back up over them to create the head. The heads on Mary's flies were fairly large, and a lot of that is due to the fact that she used gut. She didn't have hooks with eyes on them. See if I can just snap that stem out of there. It works better if I can do that. Pull down on my thread. Oh, it's not going to snap. I like it if it snaps better because it's a cleaner cut there. But I bring my scissors right down against that rachis and nip it out close without cutting the hackle fibers. Gut is the innards, the silk gland, and the unspun silk from inside the silk caterpillar, which was dissected, stretched, twisted into a strand. An eye was tied on the end of that strand, and then that strand or leader was tied right onto the hook so that you could attach your line to the hook. I'm just going to take my scissors and push it against the thread to clip it out. And then in a contemporary twist, I'm going to take some diluted goop, a drop on a needle, drop that onto the head. It looks dark when it's wet, but that'll dry clear. And then I do want to make sure that my eye is not all gooped up, so I'm going to pass a hackle feather through the eye of the hook, and then I will be tippet ready.